The story begins with a young Korean man called Mr. Kim, commonly known as Pet Shop, monologuing about special skills. Pet Shop remembers when the hunter told him about the warlord General Lightning wanting some gorillas. Since their client only wanted the head and hands, he readily agreed. The duo set off the next day, and Mr. Kim thinks of all the risks, including the local warlord's goons and armed rebel forces. Mildly irritated, he asks his partner if they're going the right way. The hunter reassures him quite aggressively, only to get surrounded by a bunch of soldiers. He reveals his identity as Eddie Montoya, in Korean no less, and arrests Kim after 10 long years of tailing. On the police van, Pet Shop asks if the poaching and General Lightning were all part of his plan, which Eddie confirms. He explains how he kept up his act for 6 months, only to be interrupted by a call. The caller warns him about 2 moons, followed by the whole van rattling as Pet Shop transforms, freaking out the soldiers who start shooting him. The monster slaughters everyone in that van, including Eddie, who calls him a monster. Kim then exits the van to witness the eerie 2 moons. Mr. Kim was betrayed, arrested, and now alone in an alien world. Regardless, he concludes it for the best, as he was an international criminal constantly on the run in the old world. He does not consider himself human anyway, and is soon attacked by a pack of wolves. He morphs into a tiger hybrid and attacks, killing the alpha and eating it. Realizing that common knowledge does not apply here, he spends a week in this forest feasting away with each catch. He ventures forth to discover the common knowledge unique to this world, running into a man speaking a foreign language. Mr. Kim just kills and eats him, granting him access to man's memories. He now knew this foreign language and even found a guide to monsters as a bonus. From this, he learns of various monsters and systems, and begins experimenting on his victims for 2 months. The panel shifts to a disembodied troll being used for tests beyond the limitations of the guide. Meanwhile, at the Onyx Oaks clan, we see a blonde human man speaking to an orc about a prophecy on the most powerful monster that eats every creature and absorbs their skills. A group of trolls stumble upon human tracks while looking for their missing patrol. Angered at the thought of being denied human flesh, they start scouting the area and come across Pet Shop's cave. By the time they smell troll blood, it's too late, and Mr. Kim makes quick work of the 3 trolls using various combinations of monsters he had assimilated. The Prod continues his experiments for months, but still feels alienated about skills. Similar to video games, he concludes that he is immune to the skills of this world, and yet his attacks are lethal on creatures here. His dream of becoming the most powerful creature is actually plausible here, where humanity's science and weaponry is absent. The focus shifts to a lone slime experiencing a dragon's flight overhead. It rejoices about being born in a fantasy world with the ability to consume and absorb anything at the cost of its soul. It starts consuming creatures left and right, plotting its eventual world domination. This slime is fated to be a great rival, whose stupidity would become the end of it. The Elmwood continent exists under a goddess and her warrior. This warrior defends humanity and abides by a sacred code, but even he couldn't stop the monster of destruction. After he died, he reopened his eyes 10 years in the past. Vowing to stop the monster, he reveals the future under the guise of a prophecy to the Orc Elder. He explains the existence of a monster who kills and absorbs creatures, and how it must be stopped. The Elder warns him that it's too late, as the trolls had already disappeared. The warrior recalls the distinct characteristics the monster possessed, similar to trolls, and pursues their trail. Mr. Kim's experiments killed all the trolls except his first victim, who pleads for death. As he scribbles down notes on his guide, he decides to use his blood for healing potions instead. He soon sets his eyes on lizardmen and heads to the swamp area. He makes quick work of some lizardmen and eats them, while the slime feasts on an orc elsewhere. This slime then happens upon Pet Shop's cave, crawling with monster carcasses, and starts eating away as well. This happiness is short-lived though, as the goddess of warrior appears behind him. The warrior senses evil within the slime, who proceeds to throw questions and insults at him. Thinking of himself as an OP protagonist, the slime complains about getting him rather than a dragon to consume. The warrior draws his sword after this meager monster insults the divine goddess. Mildly shaken, it proclaims that it'll devour the warrior for his skills, only to get sliced in half. It survives thanks to the troll's region, but the warrior concludes that this is the future calamity and uses a huge ray of holy light, final judgment, to decimate it and leaves. Meanwhile, Pet Shop attacks more lizardmen for his experiments and ferries them back to his cave. The slime had barely survived and sought out something to eat, only to be met by a returning Mr. Kim. He is enraged by the disappearance of his subjects, but the slime leaps at his face, considering him food. The slime monologues about his life thus far, how he was a useless human who didn't even have a job when he was 40. He woke up as a slime in this world, considering himself his chosen hero. He leaps right at Pet Shop's mouth, planning to eat its way out, only to get assimilated by him. Mr. Kim is no longer able to use the cave as the slime contaminated it, but he can now use the slime's skill of transforming and evolving based on what it eats. Now he could eat a wider range of things, including plants, dirt, and ores. Thus, he is now able to absorb minerals and even turn himself into metal. At the dragon territory, a nameless red dragon descends upon its lair. Other creatures call her the Scarlet Blaze, but to her baby, she is simply Mom. She goes out to scout the area and is angered by the sight of lizardman blood, beings who fall under her protection. Meanwhile, Pet Shop contemplates the use of lizardman mucus to absorb a sturdy metal. He pinpoints a location up a mountain, but needs to get past orc territory to get there. He thinks about how to get the orcs to leave the mines when the dragon flies overhead. Knowing about the dragon baby from the lizardman's memories, Mr. Kim hatches a cruel plan. The mother dragon drops food off in her lair and commands her baby to stay put. She puts up a barrier spell and leaves the nest, only for Pet Shop to appear there within seconds. The barrier doesn't work on him because he's technically an alien here, and he easily reaches the baby dragon while looking like an orc. He ignores the baby and looks at all the treasures gathered there, metals incomparable to those in the mines. He then attacks the baby, who lunges at him. The mother dragon returns with no info on the intruder and is distraught by the sight of her baby injured. She uses healing magic to save him, who quickly tells her about a red creature who attacked him and stole all their food and treasure. Firmly believing the orcs to be the culprits, she lets out a bone-chilling roar. A patrol orc brings a bloodied artifact dagger he found in a bush nearby to their elder. By the time he realizes the blood on it is of dragon origin, the mother had already begun her attack. Thus, she begins to lay waste to the innocent orcs. If you guys want part 2 recapped, please comment down below and turn on notifications. Thanks.